How's everybody? Enjoying the summer? I hope so. Yeah, just cleaning my screen here. My cell phone. And of course, I was thinking again, like usual, seeing I've been a technician for so long. Well, actually now I'm a retired technician, but I was thinking of way back, like when I first started, and the internet, didn't have that before. There was no internet, no computers, and like I always say, if you wanted to have some information, you had to look it up in books or whatever. And actually, I really never took the time to understand how it all started. How did the internet start? Really? And who started it? Oh, I know. Like today, with Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, which is now X, and YouTube, of course, which I use. Got to me thinking of when it all started. So I did a bit of research because I know for a fact when I first got my actual computer and I started to use it, like when you had to dial up like remotely because there was no Wi-Fi then at first. And you would want to connect. You would use a dial-up modem where you would take the phone, just like take the phone and put it on the dial-up modem. And then you would connect. It would go like bing, bing. I'm lousy at imitating it. Whatever. Anyways, you get the point. And then, like, you could access other people, with your computer and access their computer. Or remotely, like if you wanted to access a computer, let's say at your job. You could, and that's how you started to communicate through the web. I got here, I took down some notes about like, here it says like here, okay, at the Rand Corporation, there was an engineer, and his name was Paul Barron. He asked an impossible question. How do you build a communication system that survives a nuclear attack? This was in 1962. Finally, his answer was, and a bit radical, don't build one big network. Build a distributed one. Chop every message into little blocks. Send each block on a different path and reassemble them at the other end. If If one path is destroyed, the message finds another way. Then after that, in 1964, in England, Donald Davies independently invents the same idea. He gives it the name that will stick: packet switching. In Washington, another man is dreaming bigger. His name is J.C.R. Licklander at ARPA, the Advanced Research Projects Agency. Writes a memo in 1962 called The Intergalactic Computer Network. He imagines a world where every computer can talk to every other computer. See, like sort of what I was saying, Not for war, for collaboration, for knowledge. Fear created the funding, but curiosity created the vision. Oh, I got this glare in my glasses. 1969, UCLA, California, at exactly 10:30 p.m. The plan is called Arpanet. ARPA. Hires a small, it calls Arpanet. But ARPA hires a small company called Bolt. Both Baranek and Newman to build the switches called Interface Message Processors, or IMPs. 4 universities get them: UCLA, Stanford, UC Santa Barbara, and the University of Utah. On October 29th, 1969, a graduate student named Charles Klein at UCLA tries to log into the computer at Stanford, 350 miles away. His professor, Leonard Kleinrock, is watching. Klein types L. He says on the phone, "Did you get the L?" Stanford says, "Yes." He types O. "Did you get the O?" Stanford says, "Yes." Klein types G. And then the system crashes. The first message ever sent on what would become the internet was LO, as in L-O, or low, and behold. Within an hour, they fix it, and he sends the full word: log in. It was not impressive. It was everything. By December, all 4 nodes are talking. 15-year-old kids today have more computing power in their watch, but for the first time, 2 computers owned by 2 different people in 2 different cities were sharing. We're talking language here. Having a wire isn't enough. You need a common language. Early Arpanet computers all spoke different dialects. So, in 1973 and 74, Vint Cerf and Bob Ken, now known as the fathers of the internet, published a design for TCP/IP. Think of it like this. IP is the address on the envelope. It says where to go. TCP is the registered mail receipt. It makes sure every packet arrives in order and asks for a resend if something is lost. It's simple, it's open, and anyone can use it. That's why it won. On January 1st, 1983, Arpanet officially switches off its old protocol and makes TCP/IP mandatory. If you weren't speaking TCP/IP that morning, you were no longer on the internet. It's called Flag Day. It's the day the internet as we know was born. Meanwhile, other things are happening that feel small but change everything. In 71, Ray Tomlinson invents email. He also picks a commercial or @ symbol to separate user from machine. 1978, spam is invented. A guy named Gary Thorpe sends an unsolicited ad to 400 users. Everyone hates it immediately. In the 70s and 80s, communities, people start mailing lists, news groups, bulletin boards, and they are talking about missiles. They're talking about science fiction, recipes, and, of course, Star Trek. And the web is not the internet. This is the part most people get wrong. Look at it this way. The internet is like the roads. The web, or the World Wide Web, is the cars. It's the shops. It's the billboards. The ones that drive on those roads. In 1989, at CERN in Switzerland, a British scientist named Tim Berners-Lee is frustrated. Scientists can't share documents easily. Every computer needs different software. So he invents 3 things in his spare time, which are HTML, it's the language to write pages. HTTP is the way to request them. And URL is the address for them. What we use all the time nowadays. He builds the first browser and the first website. This was in '89. The first website in history. info.cern.ch explained what the World Wide Web was, and it's still online. But no one uses it until 1993. where students at the University of Illinois released Mosaic, the first browser with pictures. Wow. You could click and you could see an image. The internet stopped being text on black screen and became something you could explore. And then the gates opened. 1994, Yahoo, Amazon. 1995, eBay, Internet Explorer. 1998, Google. 2004, Facebook. And 2005, YouTube was created. The network that was designed to survive a nuclear war was now being used to argue about cats and to watch cat videos. What it really is. The internet didn't start as one invention. It was layers of people solving the next problem. Barron and Davies asked, how do we make it survivable? Licklander asked, how do we make it collaborative? Cerf and Can asked, how do we make it speak the same language? Berners-Lee asked, how do we make it human readable? And billions of ordinary people answered the final question, what do we do with it? It started as 4 computers trying to say log in and crashing halfway through. Now it's the nervous system of the whole planet, and maybe eventually the whole universe. The sound of that dial-up modem we opened with, that was the sound of 2 computers learning to trust each other. So basically, that's some of the information, that I was able to find on how it all started. And going back to this, to my cell phone. Today, we have Starlink, besides cable internet and Wi-Fi and all that. But up there in space, there are so many satellites now. I don't know, I've lost count. Thousands and thousands of satellites are up there. So everyone can have access to internet, no matter where they are. And if you go outside on a nice clear night, if you haven't already done this, and you look up, you're going to see the satellites move in the sky. I have a funny joke of this. I'm going to go back, like I was saying, when I was a technician, okay? And I was on the road. I was installing satellite dishes, for this cable company, which was called Bell. And I was going around all the eastern townships installing hundreds of satellite dishes, you see. So one day my boss comes with me because I had a big job and I wasn't going to be able to do it all by myself. I needed some extra hands to give me a hand. So my boss came with me to give me a hand. This was rare because he well, he was the one that sort of trained me, but then like he let me go. I had the truck, I had my own time schedule, my own routine, everything. I was even lucky I could bring the truck home after the day's work. Well, sometimes because I had to stock it too in the morning, but I would bring the truck home, so I wouldn't even have to use my own car. Could save on gas. But the joke is you see, my boss had trained me, and I was really getting good to tuning the satellite dish up to the satellite, you see. And my boss, he had a tool that, you tune in, and the tool would actually give you the degrees and latitude, longitude, and all that. But, I didn't really use that tool, because once you hooked it up to the box, the receiver, you would have a signal, and that would tell you the strength that you were getting from the satellite. And my boss was saying, "What are you doing? You're not using the tool to tune in." I said, "No, boss," I said, "look, see, this is how, I work. I've gotten so good that now I look up to the stars, I look up to the sky, and I can actually see the satellite. I know exactly where it is." But he says, like, "This is daytime. How do you know?" I said, "Look, I know." I said, "I can feel it. I feel it because the satellite is sending me a signal down, and I tune myself into it, you see." And he said, "You're crazy. You're nuts. Just hook up to the tool." I said, "No, look, boss, look. I'll prove it to you." So I've got everything hooked up, and I start moving the dish towards the satellite, you see. And all of a sudden, I lock into the satellite. I'm getting like 98% signal coming in. And my boss is saying, "But how can you do that? How are you doing it without, any testing equipment, to get the right signal?" I said, "Well, you see, boss, after all these years installing these satellite dishes, I've acquired this special force, that's within me now. And when I look up to the sky and I see about where the satellite is going and where it's coming from, I get this feeling inside of me that starts to tingle. And I know exactly where I am and where I have to be. So my boss was there, "Wow, you've really got it good. You're really, really tuned into this, aren't you? Well, you're going to have to teach me one day." But little did he know that I had this little tuning device that was plugged in, and I connected a little piezo speaker to it, just enough for it to vibrate, and I had it in my pocket. So the minute I would turn the dish, that was about right, I would start to get a vibration in my pocket. And the stronger the vibration would get, the closer I was to the satellite. And still, as of today, my boss never found out that. So you see, I played a good joke on him there. And he even tried several times afterwards to try and connect to the satellite, just like that, you know. Sometimes he would be there for hours, trying it, testing it. And, you know, I even went one day and I said again, I'll show you that it really works. You're going to have to try it. I really fooled him good. But just to say, everybody can be fooled. And my boss was a hard one to fool. Yeah. Anyway, just a little something. Anyway, like I was saying, okay, now, with the internet and the way we connect and what we use it for, some of you have told me, like, that I didn't mention the negative part of the internet. Well, actually, the negative part, you know, like some people say, is they waste their time watching videos of people that don't know what they're talking about, you know, when you're doing or watching these how-to videos. So you have to go through so many videos before you actually get somebody that really knows what they're doing, you know. I do that myself because, like I've said, I've repaired a lot of things with the internet, the videos. There's always the negative part, and of course, the spam. Yeah, so much spam out there. You gotta be really careful. And on Facebook and Instagram and all that, like people that have their accounts and these, you know, illegal people that steal their identity and post their stuff, their videos and all that. It's not right. No. A lot of things that are not okay. That's why I try and keep it healthy, you know, wholesome, and even sometimes I just ramble. And my information sometimes is not perfect, and it's not the point and all that. But that's not the whole picture. The whole picture is I'm just giving you simple information and things to help you unwind, relax, take in some knowledge, whatever. If you want more precise information, you can use the internet. Look it up. It's all there. So you got no problem in getting more information besides me. And hopefully I'm not wasting your time, you know, because this is a relaxing video, stress-free. And yes, of course, I'm a little bit nuts. You know, I do things sometimes that are a little bit crazy. But that's me. That's the way I am. It's the way I operate, the way I do things. I don't like doing something without a little bit of a challenge, or that it's maybe even a little bit funny or comical or amusing. It's always good to have that in your life, and at the same time to use that brain, because as I'm getting older, I'm starting to forget certain things, you know. So I constantly have to look up again, you know, especially when it comes to words. Like they say, if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. And with everything that I've done in my life, it's almost impossible to keep on using certain things over and over again. There's things like algebra. Why am I going to use algebra? For what? You know, I'm not a company. I'm not creating something. I'm not a mathematician. So, algebra and calculus and trigonometry and all that stuff that I learned way back, I haven't used that in so long. I would have so much trouble today. I would have to relearn everything. Like my language, my English, my French. Certain words, like you've seen in some of my videos, my spelling. Like the word science, I forgot to put the C after the S. A typo. But just sometimes basic words are escaping me because I don't use them enough. So that's why I'm always on the internet, researching things, relearning things. It helps me to keep my brain active. And that's why my channel is so important, that I can use my talents, my know-how, to keep on performing and trying to grow my channel so that it's educational, relaxing, fun, and that you enjoy it. So basically that's my little ramble for today or tonight or whatever it is where you are. I hope you are relaxing, and take care, because we love you and be catching you on our next adventure. Yeah. I'm supposed to be doing a cooking video soon. Yeah, I gotta set myself up for that. So, take care. Bye for now. Bye.